What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Battlefield, I guess 2042 at this point, right? The new official title of the next Battlefield game. But I want to just have a discussion, okay? None of the things I'm about to say are confirmed. They mainly come from Tom Henderson, and if you guys know Battlefield, I assume you know who Tom Henderson is. But he said a lot of things in regards to Battlefield, and we'll just call it the new Battlefield, in respect to the old consoles, PS4, Xbox One. And I've covered some of it in past videos on this channel. I want to put it all together, though, because he recently did another tweet over the weekend that, to me, was like fine. It's a normal tweet. I assume, because of how I've talked to people online, you know, in these YouTube videos, the way he worded it, I assume it made a lot of people upset. But I want to talk about that because I do think that's a very important tweet, and I'm just going to jump into it. His tweet was pretty much, this is not word for word, but his tweet pretty much was, you know, if you don't have PS5, Xbox Series X or S, okay, you need to start saving up to get it, because the Battlefield game on those consoles and PC, high-end, and in fact, he said high-end PC, the Battlefield game on those consoles and PC is going to be a literal different game than the PS4, Xbox One version. Okay, so that's what he said. Now, I assume people and if they didn't, then I am being treated unfairly, and I would like to complain to somebody about that, because when I talk about God of War, Horizon, I don't even talk about the money aspect all that much, because people get very, very mad when that happens, and it is also tough to say, we'll just save money, because sometimes there's no money to save, so I get all that stuff. So I assume the first half of that tweet probably made, or should have made, some people angry. And again, if people didn't get angry, I would like those people to watch my videos instead of the ones that get mad at me. I'd like to swap them or something. But it's an important issue, right? I've also seen him say that the idea of crossplay, I mean, not even the idea, the functionality of crossplay is not even going to be in Battlefield at launch, because the old consoles, the PS4, Xbox One, they can't even handle it. Now, months and months ago, remember, he was somebody that was behind. Now, okay, and I will say this, he's not always right. In fact, he didn't flat out say it, but he was on the side of that it could very well be only like next-gen exclusive, which I was fully behind. You know, if you guys watch those videos of me in the past, I completely understand that. I'm behind that. We're not going to get into that because it may make people mad, and I don't want to, go into that territory right now. But, he was one of the people behind that, okay? Now, that was wrong, but he didn't flat out say that was going to happen. That was more of like a theory of his, or like something that he believed that just turned out to not. So, like, he's not perfect. It's something I want to make it clear. Like, I'm not going off of him by gospel, but I think, I have talked about Horizon. I have talked about God of War. I have talked about the differences between going, on both versus just going on next, and what that can do to a game and holding it back and all of that, right? I've talked about all that different stuff over the past several months, even a year, because I did it for Horizon last June. So I feel like this is kind of right up my wheelhouse, okay? The first thing you should say is, like, that's scary. See, what's happened with, actually, Cyberpunk is an example of this that people didn't really expect to happen, right? Cyberpunk was a game that, and I have seen people that say, they had a PS4, they had an Xbox One, and nothing happened. I get that. I'm not saying, those people are liars, or, that's just a myth, but you were, I would say, guaranteed a better chance of the game functioning well if you had it on PC or high-end PC, and then PS5, Xbox One, or Xbox Series X. In fact, people were going around literally saying, yeah, the PS5 and Series X super helped the game. In fact, it kind of does the game a favor, because it helps it out more than it probably should, right? But the PS4 and Xbox One versions had major issues. Some people, and again, the same, you could say, well, I had a PS4 version, it was fine. Well, for every one of you, not maybe everyone, but you said that, but somebody else can very easily say, and I have seen it, where they say the game literally couldn't work. I couldn't run the game. The game would break, it would crash, all that stuff. So those people exist too. And I'm not saying, by the way, that that's going to happen for Horizon or God of War. I don't think Sony would let something like that happen. However, you have to remember who we're dealing with here. Now, I'm a big Battlefield guy, okay? I'm not actually a big first-person shooter guy, but I love Battlefield. Now, the last couple, I'd say the last two, haven't been all that well, but my God, the ones before that were pretty darn fantastic. So, keeping that in mind, don't take this too seriously, right? Don't forget this is EA. And not that EA is the worst thing on planet Earth, although they have been rated the worst company on planet Earth a couple of times. But besides that, or even DICE, you can go after DICE, but they can only do so much. You see EA pretty much doing very quietly what Activision is doing, where it's like any team that's available is helping to work on Battlefield. Now, I said when they announced that, I said that's a bad thing. That's a terrible thing. I hate hearing that because there's gonna be, and people were like, well, not really. It's like all hands on deck. Like, how could you look at that? Well, why would you need, like, and I believe it was like 6 or 7 teams are helping DICE work on Battlefield, on this new Battlefield. Like, if it was a normal game that they were confident would be ready at the time of release, they wouldn't have all of these teams that normally don't help. You know what I mean? So, like, that's, and I called that out when that happened, like, a few months ago, or when there was, I guess, a rumor, right? We don't technically know, but when it was a rumor. So, I'd like to also claim credit for that in case anybody comes at me. But it just, it goes to my bigger overall point. I mean, you can look at it 2 different ways. Well, number one, so, like, my point of view is, you know, if the game was supposed to only be on next gen, and especially, like, okay, if this is true, if it runs like garbage, and we've heard, actually, Tom Henderson has said that before, like, it's going to run horribly on PS4 and Xbox One. So, if that's true, that's terrible, okay? But it's terrible for 2 different reasons. Number one, more towards the next gen side, then it should have just been next gen. Don't try to force it on old gen if it literally is not made for it to the point that it can't run it. And not only that, again, what I said with that rumor that he said, it may not even be crossplay. That's a big deal. Now, when I read crossplay, and I believe the way they were saying it means like Xbox to PC, PlayStation to Xbox Play, like stuff like that, okay? But as we've seen with some games, sometimes they don't even do the last gen to current gen. Like, if you, like, I have a PS5, there's been a couple games I can't play online with the PS4, with my friend who has a PS4 and has the same game, because they don't have that functionality. Then I would blame the game for that, okay? At least right now, all right? So, like, you could read it either way. It could maybe not be crossplay that way, or like actually it could be crossplay or not crossplay both ways, which is awful. Absolutely, because then like you're stuck on, if you bought on PS5 like me, like I'm gonna buy on PS5, then you're just playing with PS5 players. You're not playing with anybody else. And again, like you could look at that and say, just make it next gen. You could also look at it and say, if you're gonna put it, and this is how I think a good amount of people will also look at it, if you're gonna put it on last gen, make it work. Literally. And now, to their credit, maybe that's why they have the rumor of like 7 different studios helping out, because they're like, shoot, we've made the decision, not even we, like people above us, have made the decision that we need to put this game on last gen, even though the game is not made for it. The game cannot run on it. It can't handle the stuff we're trying to do with the game. So we, number one, have to make it almost a completely different game. Like, it's got to be much worse, because we can't, literally the consoles can't handle it. And then we may not be able to have these features in it because, and like, but here's the deal. I understand that. Like, no crossplay sounds really stupid, sounds like something that people would get angry at. But think about it. Like, if the game can't handle some of the stuff, if it can't handle 32 versus 32 in the Battlefield setting with, like, dynamic things going on, right? We've heard about, like, twisters and tornadoes and stuff. If it can't handle that, then it can't have that in its game, right? But then if you cross-play it with, like, say, PS4 to PS5, and PS5, and all of a sudden those things are in the game, you either break the PS4 because like it can't handle it, or when you're playing with PS4 people, if you have the PS5, then you can't have those next gen features. So either way, it's a lose-lose either way. So, you know, like, is there a point to this video? Maybe not really, but it's more of like a venting where it's like they've messed up here somewhere. Like, again, at this point, it should be drop the last gen version or make it work as best you can, and maybe that's exactly what they're doing. And the more I say it, the more that doesn't even sound like a good idea, because it just the more, I don't know, you either have to completely dumb down the game, and it's easy to do, or easier to say to do with like Horizon, okay, than Battlefield. Because again, Battlefield, most of it, the reason you buy it, most likely, is for online, is to play. And now, the campaign's important, and I'm not saying it's not, and I play Battlefield games for their campaign as well, but I actually do it first. But the multiplayer is like 80-90% of the people that play the game. So in reality, you could say, well, I do it for single player. In reality, most of the players play for multiplayer. That's just a fact, okay? And those people are going to be met with quite a surprise. You know what I mean? So it's messed up. It doesn't sound good. Tom Henderson, you know, again, like, is he right all the time? No, he's gotten things wrong. But he's been very like on this. Like he like again, he was on the it should only be on next gen. It's going to run very differently. Then he talked about the crossplay. Now we talked about how literally it's just going to be a different version of the game if you get it for one versus the other. And so like, you know, it's not just something he randomly threw out. He's been saying this for months and months, and actually for almost like a year plus, okay? So I kind of believe him. All right, so let me know, guys, in the comments below, what do you think about all this stuff? Do you think these games are going to be radically different? Is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, so you know when all these videos go up. I do a brand new video every single day on this channel, and so I hope to see you guys for tomorrow's video.